Hi, my name is Carrie Pierce here for MLDU.org. In my day job, I am the Senior Vice President of Engineering and Chief Product Officer at Uber Media, which is a mobile location data vendor. And I'm here today to review and talk through how you can determine the cross-shopping behaviors of your visitors using mobile location data. So to get started with that, we want to talk about how you can go about understanding a large group of consumers. We know when we're looking at one consumer, we know that they visited our location, but we don't know where else they visited. So we could survey those people, we could survey our visitors and then survey a whole bunch of other people and try to figure out where folks are going to. But the surveying can be time-consuming and expensive. And so we can use mobile location data to basically determine where that cross-shopping behavior and how that cross-shopping behavior was occurring. Since mobile phones are carried by so many people, everywhere they go, in a sense, that is exactly equivalent to a survey. So let's assume we have Bob, right? Bob likes McDonald's a lot. Bob goes to McDonald's a whole lot, right? So suppose that Bob goes to McDonald's 30 times a year, right? Is that a lot? Who knows? Maybe I go 60 times a year, and therefore Bob doesn't like to go to McDonald's compared to me. So is this normal, right? How do you determine whether Bob is a normal average American? You would find this out by basically surveying and asking a whole bunch of other people, hey, how often do you go to burger joints? Do you go a little? Do you go a lot? 3 times, 5 times, etc. And you basically get a picture of all these other people of how many times they're going to McDonald's. And from this, you can basically say, okay, the average other person winds up going to McDonald's 3 times a year. And this enables you to set up a comparison that says, okay, we've got Bob, who's going 30 times a year. Well, everyone else goes on average just 3 times a year. So from there, we can say 30 divided by 3 is 10. Bob visits McDonald's 10 times more often than all those other people that we surveyed on average, right? If we put on there like 100 visits to try to make a nice baseline, 100 visits by the average American, Bob will go 1,000 times, right? Which basically winds up being, he will visit in over the course of a longer period of time, 900 more times than the average American. That means he's visiting it 900% more than the average American. So how does this play into mobile location data, right? So that's our sort of off-world way of doing this, of interviewing people and asking them these questions of how often they go to get burgers. Well, think about mobile location data. Mobile location data makes this a whole lot simpler to do. So this is Bob's phone, right? Bob's carrying his phone everywhere. And so when Bob is moving around, you can tell, mobile location data can tell you what locations Bob has been visiting, right? So from there, that's almost like surveying. So it's almost like as Bob's phone is wandering around, we can figure out what types of locations Bob's phone tends to visit. He's going to burger joints, he's going to amusement parks and airports and everything else. And because so many people own smartphones, that winds up being that survey of all those other places where we can tell where all those other phones visit. And that's equivalent to doing a survey. And we can determine aggregated visit patterns from all of those devices. And so without having to conduct any time-consuming or super expensive surveys, we can basically get this really great picture of what the average person is doing, where the average person goes, whether that's the average American, or you can do this in any country around the world, Australia, the United Kingdom, Afghanistan, wherever, you can do that. And you can look at way more people than the standard survey can look at, and generally get these visitation patterns for people. And what we suggest is that when you're looking for these averages, you want to make sure that in doing that averaging process, there's no biases. So you basically do these surveys over and over again by taking random samples of different users and different Americans, different people, and all their visitation patterns to get a nice average set and a nice baseline to use. Because then you can take your visitors and compare them to that average baseline to determine how your customer base is different from the average American in terms of their cross-shopping behaviors. And by doing this, you get a great picture of other brands that your customers are going to and a great profile of their interests and other really awesome things that you really can't do with just a plain old survey. And I'd encourage you to check out other articles and videos on MLDU.org.